2 years ago, Trevor Strnad, the lead vocalist of the Black Dahlia Murder, passed away. So I want to ask the question, can this band continue on without him? In this video, I will be talking about the new album Servitude that was released on September 27, 2024. So you may be wondering, did they find a new vocalist from the outside, or did someone from the band take over? And the answer is the latter. Brian Eschbach, the band's rhythm guitarist, took over as lead vocalist, and former rhythm guitarist Ryan Knight returned to the band after a brief hiatus. Let me also say I'm kind of a newcomer to the band, but I was able to do a deep dive of all their albums before this review, and I enjoyed what I heard. They have a very unique type of death metal sound, whereas they don't sound like old school bands, but they are also listed as melodic death metal, but they don't sound like a typical melodic death metal band. So I think this band does a very good job of mastering the balance between the brutality, the intensity, and the melody. It's a good band to listen to with headphones as well, because the music has lots of intricate layers and sounds. So with that being said, let me jump right into the review. They released 2 singles prior to the release of this album, and they were Aftermath on June 13, 2024, and Mammoth's Hand on August 6, 2024. The album has 10 tracks. It's a fairly short album at only 32 minutes. There's a short instrumental called Intermission, and the rest of the songs have a length between 3 and 4 minutes. The album opens with Evening Ephemeral, and this one has a soft intro, but don't worry, this band hasn't gone soft. They kick off the album with their brand of melodic death metal, if you want to call it that. All I can say is very intense. Brian's vocals fit the band very well. I like the fact that you could understand what he is saying when you listen to the lyrics. So that's something that I liked on this album. The next song is Panic Hysteric. This one has a lot of speed and aggression. The guitar playing sounds very technical on this one. They also add in some of their signature Melodic Death melodies in here as well. And it's a good example of how Brandon Ellis and Ryan Knight are able to pull off the twin guitar attack. Then there's Aftermath, which is the lead single. The thing that stands out on this track is the double bass drumming. This sound works very well with the speed and intensity of the song, and I think Alan Cassidy is one of the best drummers in modern death metal. Aftermath also has a music video, and the video shows an asteroid that hits the Earth and then shows how people need to survive the aftermath. So the lyrics were also very interesting as well. Cursed Creator is next, and I thought this one had more of an old school death metal sound with tremolo pick guitar riffs as opposed to the modern sounding tech death riffs. This is another track where the guitars stand out. I like the fact that they're bringing back an old school sound on the guitars. Now we're at the midpoint of the album. There's a short instrumental called The Intermission. It's a soft acoustic piece. It fits nicely because sometimes these types of albums need something soft to give you a break from all the intensity. It's under 1 minute, so they bring back the intensity right after this. There's still 5 tracks left in the album, so let's talk about them. The next one is called Asserting Dominion. This continues the album with a signature death metal style, but there are also a few guitar riffs that remind me of some old school death metal, specifically in the guitar tone. I thought the guitars had more of a chunky sound to them on this track. The next song is the title track called Servitude, and just like the rest of the album, they continue with their signature sound, but this track has something that the band does that I haven't really mentioned, and that is the melody. This band is very good at crafting aggressive death metal tracks, but at the same time, keeping the melody, and I think this track is a good example of that. After this is the second single called Mammoth's Hand, and I was just talking about how the band likes to add melody to the songs, and I think this is probably a better example because I believe this is the most accessible song on the album. I enjoyed the song as well. The music video shows a group of Neanderthal men who are hunting a woolly mammoth. They want to kill it for food, but as you watch the video, there are some scenes that get very intense where the woolly mammoth actually impales a few of the cavemen with their tusks. It's an animated video, so it's not too graphic. It's an enjoyable song. There are 2 more songs on the album, so the penultimate song is called Transcomic Blueprint. I felt they got very heavy and brutal again on this track. When I was talking about the last 2 tracks, I talked about the melody, but I think on this track, it's the technicality that stands out. You can hear the complexity in the guitar riffs in this one, but at the same time, it was still a little bit melodic, and it reminded me of 90s era Carcass. The last song on the album is called Utopia Black. I think the thing that stood out on this track was the use of classical music and how they incorporated it into their death metal sound. There were a few parts of the song where I could hear this. One was in the lead guitar playing that had a classical music feel, and the other was during the outro where they played a softer classical music piece. So, to answer the question that I posed in the beginning of the video, yes, this is a strong comeback. Now for my final thoughts. First of all, I guess people are naturally going to compare the vocals to Trevor, and I think Brian's vocals hold up. But they're not exactly like Trevor. I think Trevor had more versatility in his vocal style. On the previous albums, there were times they almost sounded like there were like 2 or 3 people doing vocals. But on this album, although Brian did a very good job, I think the vocals were a little bit more straightforward. As for the rest of the music, I thought it was very good. I thought they might have played it a little safe. I only say that because I listened to all of their other albums before listening to this, and I noticed they may have experimented a bit more on some of the other albums. So one album that comes to mind is Ritual from 2011. I think that might actually be my favorite album, but I thought that one was a little bit more experimental. This one felt a little safe, but with that being said, it's still a pretty solid album. My score is going to be an 8 out of 10. I don't know how I would rank it because I haven't spent a lot of time with their other albums. But if you want me to do a ranking, just drop it in the comments. Just say, yes, John, I want you to do a ranking. And if I get 5 people to comment that, I'll do a ranking. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Check out my review of Flesh God Apocalypse with their recent album, Opera. That was the last death metal review that I did. So check that out. Please give this video a like. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you have not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.